every single one of us has goals that align with who we are. But how do we achieve those goals if we don't know who we are? To me, I think that's one of the most important things, is to find who you are and who you want to be. And in my case, I've known who I wanted to be since I was about 7 years old. At the time, my dad introduced me to movies such as Pumping Iron and Bruce Lee's movies and the Rocky series. And, I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Lee, and I wanted to be them. That I knew instantly. I had a clear image, a clear vision. That's what I wanted to be. Sadly, I didn't retain the vision because around 5th grade, I started gaining weight and I got fat. Up until all through middle school to my freshman year of high school, I was fat. I was a fat kid. I was overweight. I was bullied a lot. I was made fun of. I was the laughing stock, and I was tired of it. I quickly realized, I wasn't on path to becoming who I wanted to be. But I didn't admit it. I wanted to hide it. I wanted to pretend to be something that I wasn't. I was fat, but I didn't want to believe it. I was in denial until I saw the scale one day, and I was like 5'6", and I weighed 210 pounds. And this was me as a freshman in high school. And I realized then that I had to make a change, because there were two roads I could go down, and I wasn't going down the road I wanted to go down. So I started my weight loss journey. This is a treadmill right here, this is the one I use currently, but I had an older treadmill that we were gifted, and I dusted it off. I dusted an old set of weights, and I just started lifting. I started running. I had no research. I had no previous knowledge. I just did it. I started eating healthier. I started eating less, and I got results. Because this is around COVID time. So when I came back my sophomore year, I looked different. I was a new person. I got treated differently. I got seen differently. But I didn't feel different. I was still insecure. I wasn't confident. I felt like I did before. And it really affected me in the gym, with body dysmorphia and all of that, because, I saw the kids around me and they were all getting bigger physically, muscular wise. They were hitting PRs. Their strength was going up, and I wasn't, and I was like, what's the issue? What's going on? And I realized that maybe I was doing too much cardio, so it was hindering my progress. So I started limiting my cardio, and it got to a point where I just kind of didn't run anymore. And I went through like a bulk phase, and it worked, surprisingly, because I was eating a lot more. I wasn't really tracking what I was eating. I was conscious of what I was eating, but I wasn't really strict. So I was more lenient. I was eating more. I was lifting, 5-6 times a week, and I was gaining muscle. I could see the results in the mirror and the progress pictures in my lifts. I was getting stronger, so it worked. But when it came time to do running or, the mile like we did in PE class, my endurance was not there. My stamina was not there. I was out of shape, and I that's when I realized that being in shape for me is different than being in shape for someone else. For me, it meant, lifting weight, being strong, but also having the endurance, having the ability to run, being agile, being mobile. For me, that was very important, and I realized that. So, the second semester of my freshman year of college, in my English Level 2 class, we were introduced to the idea of a 30-day challenge. And when I first thought about it, I was like, you know what, I could do something really easy, something that wasn't really a challenge to me. But I felt like I would have been cheating myself and, my teacher and my classmates. And so I decided, why not do running? because this would be the perfect opportunity for me to get back into it and to stick to my word and actually do something and actually challenge myself and get something out of it. So there were a lot of things that went into the research process, which ended up being my lit review, my diet, my water intake, my sleep, training itself, and a lot of things. So for my diet, it was very important for me to hit my protein goal, eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's very important for me because I didn't want to lose muscle. I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew I was going to be running every single day, but I knew I would lose strength, but I didn't want to just lose, it all completely. So eating enough protein was crucial for me. I also did a low carb diet because I surprisingly don't really need that many carbs. And when I do eat a lot of carbs, I get really tired. So I did a high protein, low carb diet. I was tracking those, which were my macronutrients, including fats as well. And I drank a lot of water. I didn't really track my water, but just when I was thirsty, or when I noticed I wasn't drinking enough water, I'd catch myself and I'd drink a lot of water. And sleep is very important for me because my body cannot function without sleep. I don't know how people do it when they do 3 to 4 hours of sleep. I can't do that personally. So sleeping 7 to 8 hours was essential. And it was even more essential to me because I actually cut out caffeine for the challenge because I wanted to just go into this raw, and I didn't want help from any pre-workout or caffeine, nothing like that. Also, I was tracking my workouts with my Apple Watch, which really came in handy, and all of my workouts are posted on my blog site. And stretching was very important. Stretching before the run, after the run, in the mornings, just to stay loose, to stay mobile, very important to me. The last thing was I actually saw a TED Talk a couple years back when I first started getting into working out by Dr. Steven Seiler, in which he talks to his audience and he explains how people can train like the world's best endurance athletes. Now, the average person can look at running or a race or something, and they'd assume that these runners just sprint 100% of the time, that they give it their all every single day. And when you think about it, you can't really do that because you'd be overexerting yourself and you're not recovering. Recovering is very important. It's an essential part of training, and I learned this especially through lifting weights. Currently, I don't lift 5 to 6 times a week. I lift 3 to 4 times a week. I make sure I get rest in between my lifts and my days that I lift. It's a very important part, and that's actually when the body grows. So I took that knowledge that I had and the video, which basically the athletes in his study trained 80% of the time in what he called the green or low intensity zone, and 20% of the time in the red or high intensity zone. So basically 80% of the time they would train at a low intensity, which builds their aerobic base, improves their endurance, their physical capabilities, and it minimizes the risk of injury and fatigue and soreness, and it allows for a fast recovery. So if his athletes were to be doing the opposite and training 80% of the time in the red zone, they wouldn't be able to recover as fast. They would be, fatigued, sore, tired, and they wouldn't really improve because of the intensity that they're training at. So I took all of these elements and I put them together. I put them in my lit review, and I actually used them myself within my 30-day challenge. So when it came time for my 30 days, I decided to run at night mostly. I started the first day, I did a high intensity run, and I got 10 minutes flat. To me, that was disappointing. That's what I got in high school as like a freshman or sophomore. I can't remember, but it was bad. But it could have been worse, and I tried to stay optimistic, and I just moved forward and work my way up. So I did. And the first week, I was sore all around my back. I think my form was incorrect. My legs were sore. My feet were sore. I had withdrawals from not drinking caffeine, which I didn't think would happen, but I had to deal with it. After the first week, my body just kind of got used to it. It got used to the training, it got used to the running, and it just became a routine. And I thought it was super easy. So by the time the third week came around, school and work and like lifting really got in the way. And there were days that I didn't lift because I knew I had to go to bed early. So if I lifted, I'd have to go to bed later, and I had to wake up in time for school, and I wouldn't be sleeping enough. So it was a mess, and it affected me mentally because I really wanted to lift and I couldn't, but I knew it was for the challenge, so I went along with it. And I set a personal goal for myself before this challenge. It wasn't a requirement for the course or anything like that. It was just something that I wanted to do, and that was to have a 6:30 mile or a sub 6:30 mile. That was a personal goal that I set, and I told myself I would get to. And by week 3, I had gone from a 10-minute mile to a 7-minute mile. No, I'd gone from a 10-minute mile to a 30-minute mile. So 8 minutes, 30 seconds. So I was making some progress, and I was really motivated, and that really got me through, because in my personal experience, with my previous weight loss transformation, I didn't really notice results physically until 3 months. So within 30 days, it's very hard to see physical results. So I knew I wasn't going to see that, but my numbers would go down. I knew for a fact within 30 days, this was something I could achieve. So that really motivated me, and it kept me going. By the 4th week, I was tired, mainly from work, not from the challenge. I could do the challenge, but because I was tired from work, it really made me not want to start the run. It was the starting that really killed me, because I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go out there and run, and it was very difficult. I'd sit in my living room and sit on the couch and procrastinate and scroll on TikTok for 30 minutes until I was like, Adam, you have to get up, you have to go out there and do it. And once I would do it, I would do it. I'm not the type of person to start something and leave it halfway and just screw this and go back home. And no, when I start something, I finish it. So doing the actual run wasn't a problem for me. It was just starting it. And the last day 30, I told myself, today's the day. You have to hit 6 minutes and 30 seconds or less. That was the goal. I went out there and I gave it my all, 110%. I really tried my hardest, and I was on pace. I really was. I knew I was halfway done, and I was on track to achieving the 6:30-minute mile. And I got to the bottom of my hill, and I had to sprint up, and I couldn't. My body physically slowed down on its own. I did it. I didn't choose to slow down. I didn't stop. I tried, and I couldn't. I ended the mile at 7 minutes and 3 seconds. It was pretty devastating to me, but initially I got to my knees. I had to catch my breath. I was gasping for air. Halfway through the mile, I couldn't breathe through my nose, and I was breathing through my mouth. So my throat was hurting. My head was hurting. I could feel the pulse in my head. I had to sit down for a minute, And I was disappointed because I didn't achieve my goal. And I ended up walking home, and I was really down. I felt bad, but I thought about it, and realistically, I didn't achieve my personal goal, but I got through the 30 days. I kept my word. And to me, that's very important, and it's better than, I think, if I would have not prepared and I just would have gone into this challenge aimlessly, without an actual goal, without preparing, without actually trying, and I didn't achieve the 6:30, I don't think I would have cared, but I cared so much because I tried. I truly did. And I knew that. And that's what mattered, that I tried, that I gave it my all. And at the end of the day, I'm happy because I progressed. 30 days ago, before the challenge, my mile time was probably worse than 10 minutes. And I got it down to essentially 7 minutes. So I made a lot of progress within the 30 days. And, I think the lesson to be learned from this is that you have goals and you can achieve them if you stick to it, if you work hard, and you might not achieve them, when you want to, like, for example, my sister, she's currently undergoing her own weight loss journey, and she tells me how it's so frustrating for her to see the changes in the mirror. And I tell her, look, it's going to take time. I've been through this. I know what it's like. You're not going to see changes overnight. You might not lose the weight by a certain date or whatever, but it'll happen if you stick to it, if you're consistent and you're giving it 110%, and your diet is to a point, and your sleep and everything, like, at some point it will happen. And maybe if this was a 60-day challenge, I would have gotten the 6:30-minute mile or less than that. So I think it's very important to not let those things get to your head, not let those things limit you, but just take it with a grain of salt. And yeah, I think the purpose here is to just, if you want to do something, just go out there and do it. And the only person that sets the limits is you. And anyone can do anything. It might not happen overnight. It might not happen by the time you want it to happen, but it'll happen. Overall, I think running 1 mile for 30 days can be done. Running 1 mile every single day, it's possible. Obviously, I didn't have any injuries. I wasn't sore. I was tired, but not from the challenge. And personally, I will keep running. I love it. I fell back in love with it. And I will definitely continue to be running, especially now that the warm weather is here. I will be running through the summer and into the next school year, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I won't be running every single day just because I do think you need rest days. But I think when done properly, if someone truly does want to run every single day, I think it can be done, definitely. But since I have other goals aside from running, such as lifting and swimming and biking, I think running will definitely help me in my journey, my personal fitness journey. I will continue it, but not every single day. But I love this challenge because I pushed myself and I proved something to myself that if I want something, I can do it, and I will reach the 6 minute and 30 second mile mark. So anyways, thank you.